I'm not too sure if anybody picked up on my hints, but I'm back? Kind of, sort of. If you didn't know, I just moved, so I am currently looking for a job, and in the meantime, I am making content again. If interested, then I will basically give you a rundown on what happened in the past 8 months since my last video, but for now, the goal is 1 video a week. With that being said, this is a brand new challenge. A challenge that I hope you guys will like. And so far there is just 5 planned parts to this. So let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm not gonna hold you up much longer. Again, thank you so much for all of the patience. Hello my lovely viewers. Looking for some affordable and good quality anime merch? Want to support your favorite Haikyuu team or join UA? What about joining the Straw Hat Pirates for an adventure or two? Want to join the Black Wolves or the Fairy Tail Guild? Well, this site has that and so much more. Use my discount code and receive 10% off your entire order. Link and code is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Get your asses out of bed. Hello, T2. Respectively, it is 12 PM. Who would still be asleep? Noya-san! Shoyo! What is this about, since you so kindly ignored me? Ooh, testy. I'm not too sure what I just walked into. I'm leaving. Wait. Hear me out first. Is something wrong? No, I have a plan to prank our partners. And needlessly worry our partners? No thanks. It's a harmless one, and I'd genuinely be impressed if somebody is able to turn it into a gone wrong prank. What is it? We are the... how do I put this? The more louder out of our partners, which is why I have gathered us here today. As extroverts, we will go quiet and become introverts for the duration of the prank. I wouldn't say that I'm an extrovert really, I just know that I'm better than everyone else, and they come to me like moss to an open flame. Period. Don't know if I should support you or take offense to that. Anyways, with the prank, are we sure it's a good idea? Never. Well, there's no time to lose. Who's going first? Wait. Shoyo. Ah, fuck. His unfortunate obliviousness caused him to have to be the first one to go through with the prank. He grumbled in utter frustration. If Noya was the one who proposed the idea, shouldn't he be the one to start? Kicking his feet into the air and swinging his vest, silently screaming, he slumped into the bed, allowing the first breath of calm oxygen seep into his lungs. Fine. If Noya wanted to play it that way, he would do the prank. Better yet, he would be the best at the prank. He would annihilate them. Shoyo, come down already. Tobio is waiting for you. Tadashi called from downstairs. The smell of crisp bacon and warm coffee flooded up the stairs and into the room. His stomach rumbled in protest. He jumped to his feet, slipping on a tight shirt and ran out the room, slipping down the first half of the steps like he normally would. Upon remembering the prank, he stopped midway on the stairwell. Tsukishima seemed to have noticed his abrupt halt. While shuffling through the mail at the table, seeing his still figure on the steps, the blonde's eyebrow rose to his brow. Sho, are you okay? Turning towards the taller, Hinata nodded, biting his lip and gripping on the railing, descending the rest of the steps slowly, like how everyone else would. Not him. Never him. Not convinced, Tsukishima set down the stack of mail, fully expecting his eardrums ready to burst from the redhead's loud screams, yet nothing came. Good morning, Kay. The spiker rose to the tips of his toes, leaning over the table to place a small kiss on his cheek. His smile was bright, yet the chillful words lacked. The redhead glided over to Yamaguchi, who was still at the stove. Hinata wrapped his arms around the teller's waist, looking over his shoulder, kissing the soft of his neck. Tadashi. Yes, love? Hinata giggled, less chipper than normal. Nothing. I just wanted to hear your name. The former player flashed, the bright pink hue concealing his freckles from them all, which was normally such a pity, yet Hinata relished, seeing his lover still get so flustered at compliments. Noticing the lack of early morning shouting, Yamaguchi turned on his heel, careful not to lean on the hot stove behind him. He carefully fixed the stray strands of orange hair that stuck out of place and placed his palm on his forehead. Are you sure you're feeling okay? You're not warm, but you seem off. Off? Tsukishima pushed his chair back and walked over, pressing his chest against Hinata's back. Now he was sandwiched between his two lovers. The warmth was everything he needed. He wanted to melt forever in their embrace, and endlessly love and be loved. Sho, come on! The Raven ran into the kitchen. Seeing the group huddle, he felt left out and sheepishly wrapped his arms around them. Tsukishima placed a kiss on the top of his head before he backed away. We need training, don't we? He sighed, stepping away from the warmth of Yamaguchi, or maybe it was the stove all along. The smell of burnt bacon wafted in the room. Yamaguchi cursed and took the pan off of the stove before he had time to question him any further. It took a lot more than he thought it would to not start jumping around like he normally would before he started running. Kageyama was of course oblivious to his behavior and began running ahead of him. He wanted this to be done with quick so he wouldn't feel like he was lying to his lovers. He needed this to be over soon. Getting caught in his thoughts, Hinata tripped over his shoelace that came undone and fell. He hissed in pain when his knee met the pavement, skinning it nearly a foot from where he fell. He clawed at the loose rocks in the pavement to conceal the scream that threatened to tear from his throat. Shoyo! He focused on Kageyama's voice. It was urgent yet firm. He held on to the firmness to steady himself, to numb himself of the pain, although it did little to nothing. Good thing we didn't make it far. Hinata didn't dare look down, knowing how weak to the stomach he was to blood. Can you walk? He nodded his head, rising to his feet. Each step felt like hell. Each time he put his weight on his feet, it felt like his skin reopened, sending the waves of pain up to his nerves, and new blood rushed past the old. Hinata swallowed back the bile in his throat. This was nothing. He suffered many injuries before. He was an athlete after all. However, floor burned from hardwood floors were different from asphalt. He couldn't get past the feeling of his bare skin gliding across the rock, nor the sound his body made at impact. He reached out for the Raven in front of him, grabbing his elbow. Tobio. Better yet, I don't think I can walk. Kageyama turned, seeing just how pale the ginger was. All color drained from his lips. It looked as if he'd seen a ghost. Without a second thought, the setter swooped him up in his arms and picked the pace up to a brisk jog so that they make it back sooner. Tsukishima and Yamaguchi's reactions to the bloodied Hinata was certainly not part of his plans for the day, but at least the smell of burnt bacon was no longer lingering. Yamaguchi leaned down, attending to his wounds, while Tsukishima and Kageyama talked in the kitchen. What happened out there? I don't know. He was behind me and then he wasn't. I looked back and saw that he fell. The blonde looked around the corner, seeing Yamaguchi wrap a bandage around the redhead's knee. Normally Hinata would be rambling endlessly out of nervousness, but it's only Yamaguchi doing the talking. Hinata stayed quiet. Eerily quiet. I think there's more to it. The Raven's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Is he sick? He's been quiet, not his usual self. Have you noticed anything? Before he could retort that was complete nonsense, his eyes widened, putting the pieces together. Hinata never came running down. He didn't shout like he did every morning, and more concerning, even his routine before the morning runs lacked enthusiasm. Is he sick? He repeated once more, licking his lips. That wouldn't make sense either. Even when Hinata got sick back in high school, it slipped past their guard because he masked it so well. I already checked. He didn't seem like he was running a fever. The blonde leaned against the counter, rubbing his temple. I think this may go past his physical capability. Kageyama scoffed. Are you saying he might be depressed? Their literal embodiment of sunshine? It seemed unrealistic and unimaginable, but it could be true. Even the happiest people break. and may hold some of the darkest secrets within. He swallowed, ignoring the lump in his throat, turning towards Kay. What do we do? We could ask him about it, but there is no sense in pressuring him if he doesn't want to talk. We will go at his pace and let him speak when he is ready to. The Raven's heart twitched. He never thought he'd face a day where Hinata had an off day, at least to this severity. Hinata was known to have an occasional off day after being defeated by other teams, but he was always just bounced back up after a good pep talk. This was entirely different. He nodded his head begrudgingly, and both walked into a living room where Yamaguchi sat awkwardly, not sure what to make of the silent atmosphere. Show. The blonde walked into the room and sat next to the redhead who laid still, fidgeting with his thumb. The finger had loose skin flaked off of his nail bed from the time he spent picking at it. TsukiYama grabbed his hand, refraining the abuse to his thumb, and caressed the back of his hand. Sweetie, can we talk? Hinata melted further into the cushions. TsukiYama's silky, smooth voice that was only soft towards him and his lovers. It made it swoon all over again. He sat up, wincing when his knee bumped into the armrest. Yamaguchi quickly sneaked around, lifting his leg and setting it on his lap so it wouldn't risk bumping into anything. After making sure everything was alright, the blonde turned his attention back to the redhead, who remained silent. We've noticed that we've expected many things from you in the past, from even before we got together, and maybe it kept maintained in your mind that we expect those same expectations from you. He bounced around his words, unsure of what he was even saying. But you don't have to feel like you need to shoulder anything. It's okay to not mask your emotions, and it's okay to show us the real you. Hinata parted his lips in awestruck, not sure what to say. It was true that their words hurt him greatly when he was a first year. His only mission was to stay strong and not become a problem for the team to have to deal with. Just don't become a nuisance. That's what he's been reminding himself since day one. It was the only way he felt he needed to do to stay on the team. Their treatment around him changed once they developed feelings for one another, but that drive in his mind remained. That string that tethered him started chipping away. Kay, you're being silly. There is no... Kageyama, who was originally standing awkwardly above them, crouched down and grabbed his other hand. Waves of despair washed over his typical scowl and his navy blue eyes. He looked up at him, brow crinkled in regret. No, Sho. If anything, I think I might have been the main one that contributed to this happening. They became lifelong rivals at a young age. Now where they were finally at a point they could compete against one another, the intensity from middle school remained. Don't ever force a smile near us. Caressing his cheek, Kageyama leaned over, pressing his forehead against Hinata's, whispering apologies so quietly that only he could hear. No, this isn't... It's okay. You can talk to us. Yamaguchi cut him off. He'd always been the perceptive type that cut on quickly and started tracing shapes into his eye, a silent gesture letting him know that he was there. His eyes burned and his throat tightened, overcome with emotion. He never once doubted his lover's feelings and knew that whatever was said in the beginning meant nothing. I know. Sho, baby, what's going on? He stood abruptly, completely forgetting about his knee and muttered a string of profanities. Nothing is wrong. This was actually a prank. I didn't mean to worry you or anything. A prank? Hinata laughed nervously, nodding his head. Yes, I'm typically loud, so the prank was to be quiet. Letting out a breath of relief, Yamaguchi let his shoulders sink and guided the spiker back to the couch, yet Kageyama remained insistent. It was a prank, but we went wrong, were we? His lips thinned and bit the inside of his cheek, unknowingly drawing attention to his partner's. No. The setter let out a groan. For a second, Hinata wasn't sure if I was out of pain or frustration, yet he continued speaking with his grip tightening. Look, I know me and social cues don't mix. I suck at them and moreover just become oblivious to any that come my way. I never really cared beyond that, but ever since I met you back in middle school, I hated myself for not understanding. That's why I always ended up snapping at you. I wanted to know more about you, but my mind was incapable of seeing past that, so now, more than ever, I need you to talk. Hinata was aware of how the Raven was different, but so weren't they all. Kageyama would sometimes come home from practice beyond overwhelmed and all of his senses became jarred simply because he'd been from the comforts of home for too long on a particularly bad day. It bled into something more in their second year of high school when Tobio was still unable to get past Kei's sarcasm and truly believed his words. Ever since, the said blonde had refrained from the more harmful sarcasm and took the time to explain it to Tobio if he did use it. Hinata pried his hand from the ladders and immediately replaced its lack of warmth by wrapping his arms around the Raven's torso, burying his face into his neck. You did nothing wrong. It's just my own insecurities coming to light. I'm overly loud and obnoxious. Sometimes I wonder if it gets too much for you all. That's the main reason I went through with the challenge. I wanted to see if maybe you preferred that version of me. He didn't know when, but somewhere in between his words, warm tears slipped past his facade, wetting the Raven's shirt. He felt another pair of arms wrap around him, and the presence of Tsukishima leaned to his side, ruffling his orange locks. We wouldn't want you any quieter. Yeah, I mean, you don't really know what influence your bubbly self has on us. I know, I for one, love the way you openly admit how much you love us. Sometimes I honestly envy that. It took me months to even say I liked you because I was so nervous. Tadashi laughed lightly, staring into the deep forest eyes, rubbing a finger underneath his eyes to rid of the stray tears staining his beautiful face. You don't have to be as patient with me as you do, but you are. That same obnoxious behavior you speak of is what actually fires me to get better as a setter, even after all of this time. Kageyama gave a small squeeze to his waist, rubbing his back with his free hand, realizing the comforting motion was ceasing the smaller sobs to mere sniffles and hiccups. Some days I wake up with everything immediately coming down on me. And then you wreck my plans to rot in bed by coming in smiling without a care in the world and get me out of my funk. That smile was the embodiment of the sun shining its warm and inviting rays down on his cold skin. It was the first touch of sun in decades, of deadly and bitter cold winter, something his night could never see. You are so loved, Sho. Each part of you. The small sniffles turned into a new round of tears, but it was not in shame, but relief. He was relieved that they didn't think any differently of him, absolutely terrified with the unknown outcome of the challenge. He still did it. Kageyama moved out of the embrace, and the ginger immediately latched on tighter. No! Don't go. Not yet. I'm not going anywhere. The setter picked the ladder up and sat on the couch properly to soothe his cramping muscles from being in a comfortable position for such a long time. This is just a suggestion, but I know you wanted to spend your day off to train more, but do you just want to stay in? We can watch movies and cuddle or play games. We can do whatever you want. For once, he wasn't opposed to the idea of staying in. His mind was spent and his knee ached. Maybe he could even get Kenma to play with him. That's if Bokuto wasn't doing the challenge. Yeah, that sounds good. Smiling weakly, he switched to Tsukishima's lap so the Raven could change out of his clothes before Yamaguchi had to pry him off to get him to change since they were wet in sweat. Despite his protest, he felt much more comfortable in dry clothes, leaning into the middle blocker's side. Watching a new movie, he couldn't help but fall victim to his exhaustion and spent his first day off actually resting. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So from here on out, I will be taking requests. Unfortunately, the request form automatically deleted itself. I have absolutely no idea what happened to that. So all of the requests I have gotten have been deleted. That very much sucks, and I'm so sorry about that. So honestly, you can just comment requests underneath my videos. That's just until I figure out what I'm going to do to keep track of all of the requests. Also, so sorry that this video was not up to standard. I am actually still a little sick, so my voice is not entirely okay. Again, so sorry for this hiatus. This should hopefully be the last hiatus for a while. And again, thank you guys so much for your patience. I won't let you guys down, so hopefully we will have the next video next week.